It is my pleasure to welcome Elizabeth Gordon from ASU, who will be talking to us today about building fun, engaging MOOCs that learners actually complete. The talk will be about 30 minutes, and we have about 15 minutes for Q&A at the end. Let's go.
Let's take it away, shall we? It sort of stole my thunder. I had this really great joke planned. You know, hey, you're here for secret sauce. If you're here for something else, run away because you're in the wrong room. Okay, so now that joke is totally ruined because you introduced me so well. Want to start out just a little bit telling you about ASU. There's actually a whole big long spiel. We're a public research university. We judge ourselves by who we include. It's a whole stick. But really the important part for this talk is we believe in making education accessible at an unprecedented scale. And for MOOCs, that's the whole point. And so kind of one of the things, and none of the stuff that I'm going to tell you today is stuff I came up with. There's an entire team of instructional designers. We have practiced this, we have perfected this, and that's kind of one of the reasons we wanted to share it with you, because there's so many lessons we've learned over the years through lots of different projects. This is me. I am Assistant Director of International Instructional Design. I have worked on about 5 or 6 different projects in the international space, mostly focused on teaching instructors to teach online and how to move into the online learning space. But we also have a whole lot of courses that are about helping learners learn better, both in offline and online. And it's through those courses that we've really honed in on these whole getting to the MOOCs and these kind of success. These are some of the projects I could probably spend about an hour. I have spent about an hour previously telling all about these really cool projects and some of the really cool things they're doing. We're not going to do that today. If you're interested, I have another talk tomorrow that gets a little bit into some more of the details of that. But I'm also happy to talk about our projects all afternoon if you're interested. So just to get to the bona fides a little bit, to prove that we do, in fact, do better than everybody else. Typical MOOC, Google it. They say completion rates for MOOCs are about 5 to 15%, depending on kind of the motivation of the student, the particular platform, what the topic is. For Baobab, that's our African young people-centric platform, they have about 55,000 course enrollments, running about a 31% completion rate. For Ishi, that's our Ethiopian platform, they're running, what's the most recent number? 36,000 enrollments, running about 51% completion. I will caveat that one. We told them they were required to take one of those courses. Now, nobody ever checked that they took that course, so there was no enforcement to that. You're required, but just a caveat for that 51%. For the Young Thinkers program, there were about 177,000 course enrollments, running about 60% completion rate. Similar situation for about 10% of those courses. There were some students who were told they were required to finish a course, so that did bump that percentage up a little bit, just to be 100% clear. And then for Starbucks Global Academy, they are running nearly 1 million course enrollments. No requirement, no verification, fully independent, running about 52% completion rate. So again, we've got the formula kind of hacked a little bit, so let's get to the secret sauce. Spoiler alert, that's the recipe. Let's get into some of the details, shall we? Ingredient number 1, the writing and teaching style. Really important thing is to know your audience. We believe in human-centered design. It was all about knowing who it is that you're talking to, what it is that they need, what is it that they want, what are their demographics, what's their learning style. So we really believe in getting to know our users. Once you do that, then you know what kind of teaching style. If you have got a class that is built for 16 to 35-year-olds, which a lot of these ones are, you're going to have a different teaching style than if you're building courses for a room full of CEOs. You'll just write different. If you're writing for a room full of scientists and you're talking about sciencey stuff, you'll write differently than if you're writing about science for a room full of noobs who don't know anything about science. So knowing your audience is a really important component to that. For us, 16 to 35-year-olds, these are self-motivated, engaging them, catching them, and having more of an informal teaching style is really what matters. We're not going to do, well, the coefficient of the X factor and the, no, it's not going to work. But hey, the really important thing is, just that conversational style, that really matters. It keeps them engaged. They're not going to have their eyes glaze over halfway through the page. Second important thing, video and graphic style. Again, our demographic, 16 to 35-year-olds. We go full-on social media style with all of those. So bright colors, catchy, a young person talking as much as possible. Full disclosure, we do have a few where there are professors sitting behind a desk, talking like professors like to do, but we almost always punch those up. We'll give them background music, we'll add cute little graphics off to the side. We try to keep them short for that attention span and really keep it limited. We try to coach them to punch it up and be more interesting. Varying degrees of success. They're professors, they know what they are talking about. So there's that. But again, catch their eye, keep their attention, keep them moving. I'll show you one video as an example.
شاهد مهاراتي. المقابلات الوظيفية مثل لعب كرة القدم. لا يمكنك لعب كرة القدم بدون تدريب، لذا لا يمكنك الذهاب إلى المقابلة بدون تدريب. معرفة إجابات أسئلتك ليست كافية. أنت لا تريد أن تبدو كما لو أنك حفظت إجاباتك أو كأنك تقرأها من بطاقة. يجب أن تبدو إجاباتك طبيعية ومميزة. لذا اتفق مع صديق تثق به على اللقاء في زمان ومكان معين للتدرب على المقابلة الوظيفية. حسناً.
I can't talk over but camera angles change every couple of, I think it's like a 15-second roll. That particular project, we had a little bit better budget, so we were on location, we had professional actors. So again, we invested money in those because we wanted those. That was one of our biggest courses, our interviewing course. So we wanted to really invest in that. One of the things we did there, use soccer. Why? It's a big, huge thing. Relatable. And this gets to the next ingredient, culturally relatable content. You want your users to engage. Having that soccer reference as a metaphor for a job interview, I cannot tell you how many people I heard from for that course, like, that was the best metaphor, it's so cool. I absolutely wouldn't just walk into a soccer game and think that I could play. I practice, so you have to practice for your interview, which is, again, the entire point of the video. For the culturally relatable content, this course is on our Baobab platform. This is the first female helicopter pilot in South Africa. She's a big deal, and she's got a really great story about being courageous and kind of stepping boldly into some spaces that had not been welcoming. And we built a course around that idea of being bold and kind of having that. It's a really, really great content, relatable content. Similarly, on the issue of inclusivity, we have an entire course talking about inclusivity, about working with people with disabilities, about being a welcoming environment in general, and kind of combating bias. In this video, same idea, culturally relatable, catchy graphics, fun music. We shot this one on location. Low budget. We had a local multimedia student who managed to do it for us as one of their projects for school. We love doing that, by the way. Multimedia does not have to cost you a lot of money. There are ways to do it that aren't like that.
To show
So again,
equally persons with
changing camera
disabilities
angles.
and
Keep their attention.
persons
You keep it
with
moving.
non-disabilities.
The snappy
All
music.
roads must
This
be
one doesn't have a whole
accessible.
lot of
All
graphic elements because it was telling more
education
of a story,
systems
but you
is
typically will
accessible.
have those animations pop on the videos. So
Inclusiveness
again, for our students in
means
Ethiopia that are on the
creating
platform,
a world that is
recording this
suitable for
on their
everyone.
university,
For you,
again, it was
for
very
me,
relatable for a
having an
lot of students
environment
in Africa.
that is
This
suitable
looked
for
like where
everyone.
they were going to school. And so there's
In
that
Ethiopia,
relatable
there are
content
more
which
than
enabled us to
15
tell the
million
story of
persons with
inclusivity
disabilities.
in a way that they instantly could connect with. I won't keep that one going too long. Next secret sauce ingredient, interactives. The old way, and I think I'm kind of preaching to the choir a little bit here, but the old way of just delivering content that's static and where they just consume it, where they read the content on the page, even just watch a video, just answer the questions. You can't just consume that information. Having something where the user does something to engage with that content. Open edX has some really great tools built in. The drag and drop is one of our favorites. If we don't have a drag and drop in a course, we'll sit around and ask ourselves, why? What do we do? What can we do to create a drag and drop? There's a lot of really great ways to do that. This is a course. No, we don't have a course about eating Ethiopian food, although I really wish we could. But for the Ethiopian platform, we had to teach the learners how to use the platform. And so we used, again, cultural, really relatable content to get them to test the drag and drop. And you basically have to pick the right food and label it correctly. I thought about doing it for you live, but I get them wrong. Like I forget which food is labeled which. And I'm like, that's not a really great example of using the interactive. But again, the idea of getting the learners to engage with the content, do something other than just sit there and passively receive the information. So this is great interactive. I don't know if you've heard of, there's a tool called H5P, also open source. If you have the ability to get your own H5P access, do it. There are a million really cool tools. Open edX will let you import them into Open edX and have them report to the gradebook. It's not great yet in terms of the functionality, but they're working on it. But in terms of what you get for interactivity, H5Ps are amazing. We live by H5Ps. We use polls a lot, asking their opinions. Students love to be asked their opinions. The poll and survey tool in Open edX are fun. Again, it's that idea of you've just received some information. What do you think? Give me some feedback. That's an interaction. The word cloud tool native to Open edX, also lots of fun. Creates kind of this visual for them to look at. They love to have that opinion. You can do even like right answer, wrong answer things you can do in a word cloud. And then it's the whole question, how many of you actually got it right? How many got it wrong? It's a really fun kind of way to do it. Discussion boards count as interaction. I know they get a bad rap. A lot of people, when they're doing online education, don't like discussions. It's all about designing the right prompt and not just asking a question just to ask a question because you can have it there, but really thinking considerately about what it is that you really want your learners to talk about with each other. So that's another really great interaction. Next ingredient, frequent knowledge checks. This helps learners before there is a grade attached to say, were you paying attention? Did you understand that video? Do you need to watch the video again? Typically for our knowledge checks, we don't put a grade attached to it. We leave it ungraded, but it's just this way for it's a low stakes thing where you can say, were you paying attention? This one, May Bush, one of ASU's executive advisors, has a whole program on career mastery. So really great video. It's a little kind of deep, a little bit on the longer side of what the videos. So having this interactive right underneath it, did you understand what she meant and the difference between blue chip and a white chip decision? It's low stakes, it's not graded, they're not gonna be worried about it affecting their grade, so giving them that really quick instant hit. Even one multiple choice question after a video can be a really great way to do that. Also, if you do have a professor who talks too long, there is the in-video question tool. H5Ps is better, but we have it now in Open edX. And so you can have it like 5 minutes into a video. You've got a 15-minute video. That is too long for anybody to sit still and do that. Their eyes will glaze over. So stop it at 3 minutes. Ask a question. What did they just say? Were you paying attention? And then have them go on. Again, low stakes, no grades. Make sure they were paying attention. Next secret sauce ingredient. Practical applications. We love to know like how our users can use this in their life. This is easy for us because all of our courses are skill development, skill building, professional development. So this really works for us for our content. But even if you're doing a biology class or an algebra class, there are practical applications where that kind of information, it's that classic, why am I learning this kind of a thing? Where can I take this learning and put it into my life, into my schooling, into whatever? So we use, let's see, the top one, it's a networking course. We talk about professional networking, the importance of building your networking, using LinkedIn, all of those kinds of things. And literally, we just gone through like how you go about networking. We stop and we say, stop right now, find a friend, ask a question, apply what you just learned, go and do it. And that's the start. You've just started your network. The bottom one is one of our entrepreneurship courses. And again, we're talking about that business, building a business plan. We give them a business plan template right there. Go apply it to that idea that you have that you're working on for your business. Next secret sauce ingredient, learner agency. This is a really important concept in terms of MOOCs, the idea that they are self-motivated, they are choosing to do this. They also need to be able to choose to take the learning further. And for our courses, again, 1 to 3 hour courses for professional development, maybe we didn't give them enough content. Maybe they want more. They want to learn more information about a particular topic. So giving them the idea of where do you go to learn more? So whether that's we point them to a blog that has a lot of this kind of information. Here's a podcast you can listen to. Here's a whole other article. Any other way that they can, if they want to learn more about a particular concept, if they want to push deeper, we call them learn mores most of the time. Sometimes we call them dive deepers. Just depends on the cultural context, which is going to resonate. Those really work. Just giving them that opportunity to learn more. That gives them that freedom to know that they are using that information and building it on their own. Next secret sauce is evergreen access. This is another concept where it takes to know your users. There is a user base where having a deadline for completing the course, after which their access goes away, might be a motivating factor, where that kind of exclusivity of you only have access for 2 weeks, that might push them to complete it sooner. It's a lot of that is about knowing who your user base is and what's going to work for them. For ours, because these are young people who are almost all of them in school, so either secondary school or in college, we want them to be able to know that if they find our course on a random day, they're on the platform looking for something else and like, that course sounds really good, to know that they can enroll in the course and come back and finish it whenever they get around to it, whenever it works. And even once they finish the course, they have evergreen access to that because maybe they took the course because a professor recommended it to them, in their freshman year, but that interviewing course, they don't actually need it until they graduate. But they know that the content is there. They can come back to it whenever it is that they need it, re-watch the videos, re-access all of the resources we have. It's there for them for evergreen. So that, for our particular demographic, that works. But knowing what is going to work for your learners, maybe it's going to be different. Maybe it's a 6-month time frame. And so there's that kind of exclusivity. So that might be different for you. Next secret sauce ingredient is community. Online learning can be a solitary thing. By definition, you are almost always going to be at home behind your computer and stuck alone learning this content. But it doesn't have to be a solitary experience. And using the tools at your disposal to establish community of the other people who are learning this content matters, especially if it's more of a challenging concept like algebra. You might want to talk to other people who are learning algebra. What worked for you? Or if you're learning a language, who else can I practice with? So giving your users a way to build community can be a really empowering thing to empower their learning. The discussion boards work for that, but there also are other ways to do that. So we use a chat tool called Rocket Chat. It's an open source chat tool. We have one for, I'd say, about half of the platforms I mentioned up there. And we have channels for each of the various kind of topical areas. So you see, join the project management community Baobab chat group if you want to talk more about project management. We just went through a bunch of project management. Maybe you want to talk about something different, maybe some professional development you found, how it was for you when you took the test, all of that kind of thing, providing that community. The other one was for successful online learners. We have a great course that prepares students to learn online, having the ability to go and chat to somebody else who also is online. And what is it you experienced? You know, did you have a problem with this professor? How did you navigate this situation? So having that community to share. We've used WhatsApp groups, we've used Telegram groups, we've used Facebook groups, we've used Instagram posts. All of those things build community and allow your learners to connect with each other in a larger sense and make them feel that they're not alone. That feeling of success and connection furthers the success and connection of I'm going to finish the course, especially if you deliberately nudge them to finish the course, which we've done. We've used some of those WhatsApp groups to say, hey, noticed you enrolled in that. Have you finished it yet? Did you get your certificate? It's so pretty. Last secret sauce ingredient, and I feel like we missed one. But last secret sauce ingredient, low tech barriers. Might be weird to say at a technology conference. Tech is not the end all be all. Just because you have a really cool technology tool doesn't mean you necessarily have to use it. Again, what do your learners have access to? If you are trying to reach 16-year-olds who don't have their own laptop and they're accessing your course on their phone, there are a couple of these Open edX tools that at the moment you don't want to use until we get them fixed and they're mobile friendly. So for now, you want that to be as low tech as possible. If they are all CEOs who are accessing your content, well then by all means, put all of the tech in there because they're operating off of a T1 line and they want all the glitz and glamour. So knowing what technology your users have access to, what is going to work for them, and making sure that the technology is an enabler for the learning and not a barrier and not something that's going to get in the way. With this particular instance, so this is for our Ethiopia instructors. We know they get rolling outages. They often are starting the course at work and then going to go home and have their dinner and then finish up later. So we give them the option to download transcripts, download videos, so that they have that offline access again until we get the offline access in the app and we can just click a button and make that happen. We'll get there. We're pushing to it. But giving those options of how do you get around those technology barriers. If you're going to use some whiz-bang tool and you're afraid it might not work, offer a different way for your learners to access the same information so that you make sure that they don't miss out on any bit of that learning. We did. We skipped topics learners want and need. I don't know how I did that. Anyway, that's the last secret sauce ingredient is topics learners want and need. Understanding, by the way, yeah, the PDF summary for the whole presentation is there. So by all means, go with the little QR code. We survey our learners all the time. I was telling you we believe in human-centered design, so we do research groups. We have surveys at the end of every course, and in that survey we ask, what do you want to learn next? We're all about professional development and being able to provide specific skills. We thought soft skills is what they all wanted. So we had like interviewing, we had time management, we had study skills. And we looked at the surveys from the one platform and they're like, I need coding skills. I want hard skills. I don't know how to use Microsoft. So we're like, oh, you want hard skills, like actual skills. Okay. So we came up with a Python course. We came up with a course on business analytics in Excel. So again, giving them what they want kind of helps with your completion rate as well. They're going to be really interested. And yes, sometimes you have to just teach them algebra, so you can't give them what they want. But hopefully, you get some healthy balance of the above ingredients. Mix them together in a course plan. Pour it into your favorite LMS. Add some students. And watch the magic happen. So that is the secret sauce. If you're interested, the platforms I mentioned, there are their websites. By all means, go and drive up their click rates on the sites. But I'm happy to answer any questions. And that's me if you've got questions in general. Otherwise, I'm happy to take questions about any of the secret sauce ingredients. There's.
I can just use my speaking voice. Okay, hello. Thank you so much for that. That was amazing. Amazing title, amazing content. I'm Sarah. I represent a company called MOOCs. So we train young people as well. So it's really cool to hear some of the things we do, some of the things we don't. I wanted to ask about the evergreen content. So you said for you it does work. But that's super interesting because, as you said, the having a timeline often does push those completion rates up. So I don't know. Interested to hear more about that.
Yeah. Again, for us, we especially the two of the geographic focused platforms. We consider that those platforms, we are going to be with those students basically from when they join until they are like mid-career. So you're talking, timelines of, 15, 20 years. We intend to be around that long, although we've already changed the platform like 3 times. But the idea is that for us, the professional development content is about transitions. And so from 16, you're going to have a transition when you go to college. So maybe you need to interview for a scholarship. So you want the interviewing course then. But then 4 years later, you're going to be interviewing for jobs, and you're going to need to watch it again, take it again, access it again. You're going to be like, there was this one time in that course, and you won't remember what it was. Like, I know there was something I was supposed to do. And so that ability to have that access, for us, it's about being the resources. It's not just about click rates or even completion rates for us, although, yes, we're a little bit proud of our completion rates as well. So that's the calculus that we did. If you want to do the time-based, where you say you only have 2 weeks where it's a free access, or, I can see there's some, again, ours are free platforms, so there's no cost involved to the student. So I could see a model where you might want to do, like, for this much access, you could probably monetize longer term access or that kind of thing. I personally would say if you're going to complete a course and they're going to lose access, giving the ability to download some of the resources would be kind of how you get around the evergreen access, and that might be another way to do it, where you kind of get that timeline involved, but they still have that access to the resources. So just my personal thoughts.
Hi, that was amazing. Thank you so much. And as a learning designer, I'm 110% aligned with all the things, so that was great. One of the things I was wondering about was, so a lot of clients I worked with in the past care a lot about digital credentialing, badging, certificates. And I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about that and what role that might play with the motivation for your completion rate, or is that just sort of implicit?
Interestingly enough, for one of the platforms we had, we actually thought when we started that one in 2017, and we thought we were going to do badging. We literally were like, okay, badging is the next tech thing we do as soon as we get the platform stood up. And then we did some focus groups, and they're like, they don't want badging. They won't share that on social media. They just won't. So we're like, okay, well, maybe we'll talk about it later. And that project never got it done because they didn't care. The young African population, they want badging, and it's on their tech radar now to do the coding. And again, it'd be really nice if the community could make that happen. So it's just built in from the certificate screen, and click a button, it goes to LinkedIn. One of the Ethiopia project with the instructors, we have one of the things they take is an ASU course that's ASU certified, and so ASU offers a badge that they are issued that's outside of Open edX. So yes, badging is popular, useful, it's great for marketing. I actually saw one of our badges on somebody's email signature one day, and I literally was like, look, that's our badge, that's so cool, they actually are using it how we wanted them to on their email signature. But yeah, I fully support badging. I think it's, sorry if that was the question. Yeah. But we see them even.
Like, how important is it to the people you're working with?
We saw even with the platform where they said that they didn't want badging, we saw users literally taking pictures of their certificate. Again, the pretty little logo, and sharing it on there was some sharing of social media and some of that. So yeah, it's a motivator. We have the Ethiopia platform. If it's been 2 weeks since their course is over and they haven't gotten their certificate and their badge yet, I literally start getting emails like, "Where's my certificate?" I'm like, "You have a PhD. Why do you care?" But it's a badge. People love them. Yeah.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. So my question is, how do you, or if you can share your experience with the discussion forums or these other Rocket Chat forums, right? These other tools or Google, or Facebook groups. So how do you handle with the project of these scales, the interaction, right? So are those curated? Do you have someone from your team that's looking after those discussions? Are there organic discussions? What's your experience on that part?
So for the majority of these platforms, they are instructorless. And so we do not monitor the discussion boards other than a routine check by one of our entry-level workers who says, go and make sure nobody's doing anything naughty. We have community standards, so there's terms and conditions to being on the platform. Our standard is if you violate it 3 times, we will boot you from the platform. I don't think we've ever had to boot anybody, which is a good thing. So part of for a lot of the ones we're dealing with, very mission-driven population, so there is a self-selection. It's not like these are public forums where you'll get random people. There's a mission-driven focus, so that those values of we're coming together for the African one, obviously they're a community already, so we haven't had too many problems. But yes, there is a concern. I would say in general, as a best practice, having someone monitor discussion forums is a good idea. For the WhatsApp groups and the Telegram groups, those were monitored. They were a smaller subset of populations, so they are monitored and kind of curated and making sure. For Rocket Chat, for those information-based, we also have used ambassadors. It's actually a point I'm going to make tomorrow. We actually nominate youth who have been outstanding, someone who recently became a project manager and they volunteer to be an ambassador in that group and generate activity and to post on purpose. And so we've done a variety of incentive structures depending on what our funding model is. Sometimes it's a prize, sometimes we actually have somebody who donated, so we have a little stipend and they serve as an ambassador for that group. So there is a curation in some of those chat channels that happens. So
Great.
all of the above.
Okay, great, thank you.
On that, I can't remember which course this was now, but some courses, they would make it mandatory, like it's maybe 10% of your grade, how active you are on the discussion forum. So for example, you have to post something and then react to 2 or more students' posts. If you're the first one, it's a bit difficult because then you have to go back. But yeah, that's maybe another option of doing it. And as I was sitting here and you're explaining, the younger generation and the colors and the music and keeping them entertained, I was a teacher for 10 years, and towards the end, it felt like I had to be a TikTok in front of the kids to maintain their attention. So I'm wondering, and I mean, this is maybe not something that you can answer now, but in 10 or 20 years' time, if we have these conferences, how would we keep them engaged and interested? And, I mean, for them sitting for 45 minutes or 2 hours, that it will be interesting to see how that's approached.
No, you're absolutely right. There is this generation has that. I mean, they're used to information just coming so fast. There is an element where even with serious information, like not our content obviously is fun. It's designed to be fun. But even in a biology course, it's not just about making it fun. It is about that engagement. So it doesn't have to be snappy and TikTok-y. It's about don't stand up there and talk for 45 minutes. Let's stop I've violated my own classroom management principles, but stop every 5 to 10 minutes and ask a question. what did you think of that? And that's how I would have managed it. So it's not necessarily just about being a TikTok, which just the thought of trying to do that hurts my head a little bit because I can't with TikTok. I just can't. But that idea of engagement, and that's that interaction level. So it's about making sure that your learners stay informed because I'm sorry, I'm 50 and I'm not into, the social media thing, but I don't want to sit here for 45 minutes and not have there be something that changes. That's how we did college, back when I did, but I can't imagine doing that anymore, just where you just sit there for 45 minutes and you're expected to consume all of that information. So, yes. Although maybe we'll have AI implants and we'll just take an injection of the information.
Hi. Thank you for your presentation. So long-form podcasting is the number one fastest growing form of media consumption in the West, at least. So you've obviously invested quite heavily in video. Just wondering what your thoughts are around the future with podcasting, given that it is more accessible and low bandwidth friendly.
We have 15 podcasting studios on campus that are available for our professors. I think we've spent so long convincing our professors that video is the way to go that we now have to convince them, oh, hey, you could also do a podcast. But you're right, for low bandwidth, it might work. I think for our particular audience, the young people and the engagement, some of those other factors like the culturally relatable content, that ability to see it is an option. We have, for some of the ones where the videos are longer and we do have a particularly low bandwidth, we have offered the option, I think of three or four of our courses where they stripped the audio into a separate file so that they could download it if that's what they wanted. So we gave them option of video, audio, or text based. But that's a good point. Long form podcasting is the wave right now. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Elizabeth. Thanks for your talk. So as you mentioned, I think you're probably preaching to the choir here that I think a lot of us, I'll speak for myself as an instructional designer, want to include all of these things. Can you speak a little bit about how involved your instructional designers are in the writing, video scripting process, just given that I think some of our subject matter experts might struggle with writing in this way or might struggle with scripting in this way. Can you talk a little bit about how you approach that?
I hired a young person who wrote that soccer video for me because I thought about it and I was like, sure, it'll be fun, but and I turned to him and he goes, oh yeah, no, I could do this. Like literally came back an hour and had this like thoroughly amazing script. Sorry, that's not a great answer for you. However, this is one of those places where I think AI really can help and step in, where you say, here's what I'm trying to teach. And my boss actually loves to tell us this. Just take your learning objectives and tell AI, write me a fun script with the soccer as the theme to teach these concepts. And then tweak it from there. Like literally, it's awesome what it'll do. We have a team. We have grad students who are at college at ASU that we hire, and then we turf most of this out to them, quite frankly, to write to their peers. But AI is the other kind of solution. Getting a user or someone who is representative of your user to come in and help write to your users is one of our, it's not a secret sauce, this is a bonus secret sauce ingredient. So, bonus. But yeah, sorry, did that answer that question?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's just tricky, right? I think
It is.
we all struggle with, especially when you're doing those courses that are content heavy, right? If it's biology 101 or engineering 101 or something like that, where you have a subject matter expert who is really trying to impart a lot of knowledge in the way that they know how do you convince them and work with them to change their writing style or their speaking style? So if anyone has any suggestions, I'd love to hear them. Find me in the hall. More than happy to chat about how we work with our subject matter experts to do that.
Yeah, I had an hour-long conversation with a professor. He came and told me we was going to do a leadership course. And he told me, I'm going to give you 6 one-hour videos. No. We'll never get our folks to sit down without that 4 credit. You're used to your 4 credit course model. They'll never do that. How about if you tell me what topics you're going to cover and maybe we can break them apart? So if you could pause at every topic and I'll cut it apart, it's fine. Like, and literally we talked, so we showed them a couple of our videos and I'm like, I'm not expecting you to be soccer dude, right? You don't have to be funny. I get it. That's not your deal. You don't have to be funny, but you do need to shorten and chunk it. And if you can't, that's one of those ones where we used an H5P and every 3 minutes we stopped the video and what did the professor just say about, and popped something fun. So you augment, I was going to say boring, that's not nice. You augment the drier content with some of these other tools. And so again, you get that healthy mix. You can't always have the fun, engaging videos. Incidentally, college students are a really great way to get some of this multimedia content done. I would say about 30% of the videos we do were produced by students. And you give them a really valuable life skill and opportunity to build their portfolio and some really great content. So if you haven't get hooked up with your local college, ask what they have in their multimedia department and who needs a job and an internship. It's great. Sorry. Extra secret sauce ingredient. Yes.
So 2 plugs. I'm Peter. I'm with Axum. Definitely, if there are product features, and gamification is one of them, please get engaged with the team as they produce roadmap. One thing to think about. The other one, we hosted thousands of MOOCs. Every learner will surprise you. So how you build your MOOC will be as interesting. So really think about the data that you're getting out of it, because we saw many courses that wouldn't complete. Again, this 10% rate is not untrue, but we found many courses that had many enrollments with spikes because people were going in for a very specific piece of the course over and over and over again, but maybe not the full course. So users may use your course not as you thought they should use the course, and that doesn't make it a failure of a course. We had many courses that were extremely well reviewed for buckets, right? So again, just be open to how your learner will use your content to advance their educational goals, and it's not always all or nothing.
Yeah, one more question.
Just a quick question. I was excited that you said you survey your learners all the time. In MITx, we're hesitant to do that because it's so easy to drift away, right, if you're alienated by a survey. So what's your sweet spot for frequency, length, et cetera?
We have a survey at the end of every course, and then we do focus groups that are much more focused, small groups. So in our course survey, we have, I think it's like 10 different standard questions. You know, I can use this in my life. I would recommend this to a friend, blah, blah, blah. And a couple of demographic questions just so we can gauge where they are. But then we always ask them, would you be willing to talk to us? And then you have this kind of pre-selected group of people that finished a course, so you know they know what they're talking about. And then whenever we're interested in trying out a new feature or heat testing which course we should do next, we'll send out a blast message and say, hey, we're going to have a Zoom session. Would you be interested in joining us? And then we do the little research group. So that willingness to talk to you, there's some people we can't get to stop talking to. Like, yes, we've heard from you. We need to hear from some other people. But that's where we do it. But every course, we put a survey at the end of it. But again, ours are self-motivated, completely no motivation whatsoever other than they just want to. And so for us, it's really important. Did we hit the marker? Can we get anything else? All right, I'm happy to talk offline with anybody who's got more questions, but thank you so much for coming.